But you, besides just being the editor-in-chief of True North, you do real digging. And you have brought with you today 2 books. And why don't you just show the cover, and we'll have a close-up later. You've brought yearbooks.
Yeah, so these are the yearbooks from West Point Grey Academy, which is the very small private school on the west side of Vancouver that Justin Trudeau taught at for just a brief time. He was there for a little over 2 years, Ezra. So, we can go through these yearbooks. It can kind of go back to a different time. I don't know that schools still put together yearbooks like this in this sort of digital age, but this was before Facebook, this is before social media. And you can just kind of see a picture of what it was like at this school. And one of the things that I just find so interesting, Ezra, is how many times Justin Trudeau's photo appears in these yearbooks. He was a teacher. He was not a student. This isn't from his high school. This is as an adult man, a 28, 29-year-old teacher. You see his face over and over and over again, goofing around, roughhousing with the students, wearing different costumes. His picture appears about a dozen times in each of these yearbooks.
Probably more than any other.
More than the students.
Any other students.
More than the students.
At least he's not on the cover, but that's a surprise. Well, take me through these. I see you have some sticky tabs.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, the most incriminating thing of all, obviously, is the picture of him wearing blackface, which is right here.
He does it all the time.
Yeah, but this is the first instance. And, it's interesting because it's surprising that this hasn't come out before, Ezra. But when you're looking through the yearbook, the picture, it's kind of right in the middle. It almost blends in because there's a black background here.
Right.
You could see how someone even looking for it might miss it. It took me a few times flipping through to even find the damage. But, aside from that, there's a lot of other things that stand out about Justin Trudeau. So here he is. I spoke to a couple of students who attended the school, and they told me that Trudeau was kind of known at the school for being the ultimate Frisbee coach. Now, ultimate Frisbee is probably not a thing at a lot of schools, but here he is in 2 years in a row. There's pictures of him kind of dressing up. There he is with his arms around the students. Here he is wearing a kilt, and they're doing some kind of a human
now, he's wearing a kilt,
there.
But none of them are wearing kilts.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah, and then let me just find the next year, because this is the one that I included in my Sun column here.
And hang on this picture at the top here, he's got his arm around a girl. I tell you, maybe it's the 2019 Me Too era. I would never put my arm around a girl who was not my wife or my daughter. Like that's a little bit handsy.
Well, Trudeau's really chummy with the students, and honestly, Ezra, it seems like he is a student. When you look at these, this is the next year with the Ultimate Frisbee team. So here he is here with a big Mickey Mouse hat on, with his face painted. Here he is down here wearing a black afro wig, also with face paint, again with the kilt. And here he is up here just sort of playing and roughhousing with the students.
He's in more pictures than any given kid.
Yeah, and then this is funny too, because they wrote a little poem about the team. And they described Justin Trudeau as a loudmouth maniac. This is the Prime Minister of Canada. That's how they described him, a loudmouth maniac.
That's so funny.
Which is interesting. But again, I spoke to students at the school, and one of the things that was really interesting, Ezra, is that he didn't really have a teaching job. He was at the school. He was kind of a backup.
Like he was a mascot.
He was
like he is as Prime Minister.
He's the mascot of the Ultimate Frisbee team, but he didn't have a class that he taught every day. He kind of floated around.
Because that's too much work.
He was kind of like a backup teacher. So he was the backup drama teacher. He was a yearbook instructor. Interestingly enough, he taught a yearbook classes. So
is that a class or like he ran the club?
It was an elective class. There was a couple of students.
I didn't know that was a class.
Yeah, at this private school it was, and so it's interesting because he would have been the one that was editing it and made all the pictures are of him, and he was editing it. So this is the only picture in the whole yearbook I could find of him actually teaching something. And the caption says, "Mr. Trudeau loves to teach French to kindergarten students."
And again, he's wearing the kilt.
He's wearing a whole outfit.
All the kids are on the floor.
Yeah.
So they're at crotch height, and he's wearing a kilt. Now, to wear the kilt regimental style, there's nothing but net under there. It's just all fresco. It's just freezy breezies. He looks like he's a pirate with a kilt. Now, maybe that's a traditional Scottish shirt. Why is he wearing a kilt when he's teaching French to kids? Is it always dress-up day in Trudeau land?
Well, you know, that's really, I mean, maybe you could say he just had a lot of school spirit and he was a fun guy. But, you know, this is the person who became prime minister of the country. And, you know, a major fact on his resume, he likes to say that he was a teacher. But, you know, Ezra, it doesn't really seem like he was a teacher at the school. It just seems like he was more like a camp counselor or there as a PR stunt, you know, having the former son, the son of the former prime minister there, you know, teaching kids, you know, French is his native language, and he's teaching French to 5-year-olds. That's not really teaching. That's something that anyone could really do. So, again, you know, all the pictures, all the fun that he's having, it really just, again, kind of makes it concrete that Trudeau was not a serious teacher at the school. He's not a serious person. He wasn't someone who you would ever guess would one day lead Canada and become the prime minister, especially when this is his biggest thing on his resume that he likes to point to that he did before becoming a politician.
We've got a lot of sticky tabs. Are there other things that are interesting to see?
Well, I was just going to kind of, this is interesting. The West Point Grey Gala, so the Blackface photo came from the Gala in 2001. This is the year before. You can tell that Trudeau is there to raise money for the school, and they brag about it. They brag about the fact that he brought in over $100,000 and that he was the MC. Here it says the theme was James Bond, who better to fit the role than none other than Mr. Trudeau, who came equipped with a Tux martini glass and a plastic gun. And here he is holding a gun. Holding a gun. You know, he's surrounded by women. He looks like kind of like a creepy kind of womanizer.
Yeah, and there's a couple women down at his knees.
Down on his knees, he's got the gun up to the woman's bare chest here. And, you know, I just thought it was kind of funny because when Trudeau's blackface scandal came, the Liberals quickly announced a gun ban, right? And that was how they were changing the channel.
Yeah.
Well, you know, here's oblivious Justin Trudeau bringing a gun to a school event a few months after the Columbine massacre, Ezra. So this is really, you know, it's not in line with Trudeau's brand here.
Well, this is very interesting. Are there any other photos of note or other passages?
No, just again, you know, here's Trudeau having fun. He went on the ski trip. You know, he's not teaching. Yeah, we've got the ultimate frisbee.
I think
thing.
he was like a buddy.
Yeah.
He was like a friendly buddy who was always up for a gag. Blackface several times. There's the official blackface at the Aladdin dinner, even though Aladdin in the story is not black.
Right.
He blackface on the frisbee team, always a costume. Even when it's not costume time, he'll wear the kilt. I didn't know he didn't actually have a class. That's sort of sad.
Well, and he claims that he was a math teacher, but he's not listed at all on the math. Oh, here he is. He taught senior newspaper, so that's.
See,
again,
teaching newspaper, teaching yearbook, those are
they're
things,
electives, yeah.
Those are clubs.
Yeah.
Like when I was in high school, I was in the newspaper club. I was not on the yearbook club, but those are clubs. That's not something that you teach. That's not a scholarly endeavor. That's the fun stuff you do at lunch or after school.
Right, and there is a page. I don't have it marked, but it's for the math at the school, and it doesn't show Justin Trudeau at all. So as best I can tell, he was not involved whatsoever with the math. So I don't know, like everyone's digging into Andrew Scheer's past as an insurance broker to find out whether or not he was actually properly licensed or whatever. And you know, Trudeau claims that he was a teacher. Again, I just flipping through these yearbook photos, Ezra, there's no mention of him teaching math. There's no mention of him teaching pre-law, which he's also said that he did.
Pre-law.
Which is, I don't even think that that's a course
I don't know if that's
in
a
high
thing,
school.
yeah.
And you know, no one's digging into his past to question his credentials and say that he wasn't really a teacher, definitely not a math teacher at this school anyway.
That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show, which is a show I do every day. I do a monologue, interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at premium.rebelnews.com.